Ladies and gentlemen, we just witnessed 100-meter history. At the 2025 SEA Games taking place in Bangkok, Thailand, we got a front row seat to an absolute masterclass of the 100-meter dash. In this preliminary race, we saw the 19-year-old Puripol Boonson absolutely destroy this field with a time of 9.94 seconds, making him one of the very few junior sprinters to ever break 10 seconds in the men's 100. Now, what's interesting about this 100-meter dash is that it was achieved in the semifinals, meaning that Boonson clearly was not going all out in this race, and I really do believe that he can go much faster. And it's also worth noting that a few minutes after this race finished, the timer still read 0.00, as some kind of malfunction was taking place in the racing clock, and for a few minutes it really didn't seem as though an actual time was going to be released. But thankfully, the time was unveiled at 9.94, which is a very big deal for this 19-year-old. This is quite the significant moment for Boonson, because coming into this race, his 100-meter PB was 10.06, which he actually ran all the way back in 2023. And even though he was running some very impressive times this year in the 100, he still had not broken the 10-second barrier. With this new 100-meter personal best, he now joins the very exclusive club of sub-10 runners in the junior division, and at 9.94, he is now the only East Asian to ever break the 10-second barrier in the 100, opening up a brand new door of possibilities for athletes in this region. And even though this semifinal race was amazing, as it did put him onto this list as a sub-10 runner, his performance in the final just a few hours later was even more of a memorable moment. For this 100-meter final, Boonson did not get out of the blocks particularly well, but then just look at this closing speed. I mean, he ran down his competition and then exploded by them to the finish. With a finishing time of 9.99, this was another sub-10 second clocking for Boonson, except this time, he actually ran this into a negative wind. And this now makes Boonson one of only 2 junior sprinters to ever break 10 seconds while sprinting into a headwind. And if we do a simple wind adjustment, we can actually see that this final 100 was technically slightly faster than his semis, as the time adjustment at 0.0 meters per second wind comes out to 9.96, while his semifinal performance with a wind of positive 1.7 adjusts to a zero wind of approximately 10.01. Meaning that all things equal, this final was a slightly more impressive time based on the conditions. To break 10 seconds like this within a few hours as a junior is some serious running, and I could not be happier for Boonson. I remember watching him run all the way back in the 2022 World Junior Champs in Colombia, and even though he was only 16 at the time, he was already running incredibly quick, as he actually ran a time of 10.09 in the qualification round, which at the time was actually a new national under-20 record, and it put him as one of the quickest 16-year-olds in history. For someone of this age, to do something like this is just incredible, and it really seemed as though he was on pace to break 10 when he was only 16, and surely based on his times back then, he was going to break 10 when he was 17. But because of various racing circumstances and a few unfortunate injuries, Boonson just wasn't quite able to get to that next level, and things started to look even more bleak when his best time in 2025 didn't even match his times in 24 or in 2023, as coming into this event, his best time this year was only 10.15. But now, with these 2 sub-10s, Boonson has proven all of the doubters wrong, and he has officially become one of the best junior sprinters of all time. When watching Boonson run, there are a few things that immediately stick out. First, his start could use a little bit of work. I know he's still only 19, so he does have many more years to develop, but if he could even put forward a decent start to match with his incredible top speed, he could be a real threat come the bigger stages in the 100. Now, this kind of racing has been quite the norm for Boonson for years now. If we go back to 2022, he was practically in last place at the World Junior Finals, and through the opening 50, it really seemed as though a medal was completely off the table. but man, he just knows how to press on the gas over the second half. And this was also a similar racing strategy that we saw earlier today, as he absolutely dropped the hammer over the second half. But this time, he was able to separate from everyone else, and this really does give him more of an opportunity to separate over the final 30 or 40 meters. With these two times, Boonson has already become the talk of Asian sprinting, and given that only 9 athletes from Asia have ever broken 10, this means that Boonson could be the next athlete to fill the shoes of the recently retired Su Bingtian from China, who, as many of you know, is known for his killer start, as he threw down a 6.29 opening 60 back in the 2021 Olympics. Now, it's also worth mentioning that at 9.94, Boonson is now ranked as the 3rd fastest Asian sprinter in the history of the 100 meters. Quite the jump from his previous best of 10.06, which only placed him at 26th. It is very difficult to tell exactly where this young man goes from here. We're at the tail end of the 2025 season, there's just not going to be many more opportunities to race for months, and even though there is the indoor season right around the corner, the indoor season does not include the 100, which clearly is Boonson's best event. Hopefully, this is just the start of this young man breaking 10 many, many more times in the future. And in my personal opinion, I think he will start to do this more often. For years now, he has been wanting to break this one barrier. And now that he has finally done it and got the monkey off of his back, he's no longer going to be weighed down by this expectation. I think he's going to be able to push forward and make this more of a habit. Also, and this is just one more thing that many people have noticed, but when you look at his mechanics, he is just so smooth, so powerful, and his turnover is just quicker than most. This kind of effortless running and this kind of smooth striding is exactly what many coaches dream of when looking back at racing footage. So given that he was able to break 10 while looking like this, really does make me believe that he is just getting started. Congratulations to Puripol Boonson from Thailand for not only winning the SEA Games in the 100, but for breaking this incredibly challenging 10-second barrier in the 100. And to do it twice within a few hours really is a powerful statement from this junior sprinter. And now I would love to hear from all of you about Puripol Boonson's future. What are your expectations for this young athlete in 2026, and do you think he will be able to put together more sub-10s next season and in the big competitions in the future? Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.